My wife cheated and wanted an open marriage to keep seeing him. I pretended to agree, collected evidence of her neglecting our kids, and filed for divorce and full custody. Hey everyone. So, I'm using a throwaway account because, well, you know why. Let's just say my name is Mark for now. I'm 35, married to my wife Sarah, who's 33. We've been hitched for 10 years and together for 12. We have 2 kids, Lily, our 8-year-old daughter, and Tom, who's 6. I'm here trying to make sense of the chaos that's taken over my life in the last couple of days. Maybe spilling it all to strangers will help me see things more clearly or at least give me a place to vent. I've been working for the last 12 years as a senior project manager at a big construction company. The projects are pretty complex and high stakes, which means the deadlines are always tight. I work long hours, usually 10 to 12 hours on site or at the office, and it's not unusual for it to stretch to 14 or 15 hours when deadlines loom or unexpected stuff comes up, which happens a lot in construction. Weekends often involve working too, especially Saturday mornings. It's a tough gig, but it pays well and lets us live comfortably. We have a nice house in a good school district, and it means Sarah doesn't have to work if she doesn't want to. Before our kids came along, Sarah worked as a freelance graphic designer. She was good at it and had a decent number of clients. When Lily was born, we talked a lot about childcare and careers. Sarah really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, at least while the kids were young, and I was on board with that. My income was enough, and we thought having one parent at home would be great for the kids. Sarah stopped taking new clients about 6 months after Lily came along, though she sometimes did small design gigs for friends or local groups, more for fun than money. In the beginning, I thought our family life was pretty stable. I juggled my demanding job while Sarah managed the home and the kids' daily schedules. When I was home, I tried to be present, doing bath times, reading bedtime stories, and hanging out on weekends if work didn't get in the way. Things started changing about 8 or 9 months ago. Sarah mentioned feeling a bit lonely and wanting to get out more. Her college friend Jessica began organizing girls' nights out. At first, it was once a month, just dinner or a movie. I was all for it. I thought it was good for her, so I'd take over with the kids on those nights. But then it started happening more often. Monthly became every other Friday, then almost every Friday and sometimes Saturday afternoons or evenings. The people she hung out with seemed to change too. Jessica wasn't mentioned as much, and I started hearing names I didn't recognize. Sarah's behavior at home changed, but it was hard to notice right away. She was into her phone a lot, smiling and typing away. If I asked, she'd give vague answers like it was a funny group chat or they were planning the next outing. She started dressing up more too, buying new clothes and spending more time on her hair and makeup. I figured she just liked going out. Then, about 2 months ago, she set a new, complicated password on her phone. We never had passwords the other didn't know, not because we checked up on each other, but just for convenience. When I asked, she said her phone updated and needed a more secure lock. It felt weird, but I didn't push it. Fast forward to 3 weeks ago, I was going through our joint account to sort out some work expenses. I noticed charges from a cocktail bar called Crimson Lounge, where we never talked about her going, and some Uber receipts to and from an area across town she had no reason to be in, especially late at night. The charges weren't huge but stood out as different from her usual spending. I noted it mentally, feeling uneasy, but a work deadline had me swamped, so I held off confronting it. Then 2 nights ago, everything came to a head. It was Friday, and Sarah went out again. She got home at 3 a.m. I was awake, pretending to be asleep. Work stress was part of it, but mostly it was this growing anxiety. She was tipsy, humming while getting ready for bed. She put her phone on the nightstand, and a notification lit up the screen. It was from someone named David H., saying, "Tonight was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you." I didn't lose it or anything. I just lay there, those words stuck in my head. Then, in a steady voice, I asked, "Sarah, who's David H.?" She jumped as if she'd seen a ghost, turning to me with a pale face. Her first instinct was to deny it. So, I kind of hesitated and said, "David? Oh, he's just a buddy of Stephanie's from our group. Sometimes he hangs out with us." I tried to keep my cool while saying this. But then I went on. I saw the message, "Sarah. Tonight was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you." That doesn't really sound like just a casual friend from a group hangout. That's when everything fell apart. She sat on the bed's edge, facing away, and started crying. It all came out in bits and pieces, amid a lot of tears, apologies, and excuses. Turns out, she'd been having an affair with this guy, David, for the past 4 months. She met him at the Crimson Lounge during a night out when her girlfriends apparently bailed. Some of those so-called girls' nights were actually just with him. She talked about feeling lonely because of my crazy work hours, feeling invisible, and not appreciated. She said David gave her the attention she craved and made her feel alive again. Over and over, she said it was a huge mistake, that she loved me, and didn't want to ruin our family and life together. I just listened mostly. Our kids were sleeping peacefully in their rooms, completely unaware that their world was falling apart. I didn't touch her or say much beyond a few questions about the timeline. By the next morning, after a sleepless night in separate rooms, I moved to the guest room. The apologies kept coming. She looked awful, with red and swollen eyes. She insisted she'd do anything to fix it. And then, in the middle of this whole mess, she suggested something. With a shaky voice but a glimmer of hope, she asked if we could consider an open marriage. She argued that her feelings for David were real, but that she also loved me and wanted to keep our family together. An open marriage, she said, would let her be honest about seeing David, and I could see others if I wanted. She painted it as a mature way to handle things, a way to avoid the messy path of divorce. I was stunned. It felt like she was asking for my okay to keep seeing David and somehow make him part of our lives. I told her I needed time. I couldn't give her an answer right then. So, now I'm sitting here in my little home office with the door shut. Lily and Tom are downstairs watching cartoons, and Sarah's in the kitchen, her presence weighing heavily on us all. She's trying to act normal for the kids, but it's paper thin. My mind's all over the place. What does this mean? How do I even begin to handle it? My gut reaction to the open marriage idea is disgust, but I'm also trying to think practically. What if saying no leads to her leaving right away? What about the kids? They're my top priority. I work crazy hours. How would I cope as a single dad? It's just too much. Has anyone else been through something like this? An affair followed by a confession and then a request to make the affair part of our marriage? Where do I even start? Update 1. It's been 3 weeks since I shared what happened. All the comments, advice, and messages were overwhelming, and I'm really grateful. Reading so many different views, some harsh, some understanding, some really blunt, helped me see things more clearly. I realize that while what I'm going through feels unique and lonely, betrayal and tough choices are, sadly, pretty common. A lot of people asked if there were signs of Sarah being unhappy before or if we thought about therapy. Looking back, her wanting more girls' nights and saying she felt stuck could have been signs. But she never really told me she was deeply unhappy or lonely in a way that made me think our marriage was in big trouble. Whenever I asked if she was okay or wanted to talk, she'd usually say she was just tired or stressed from the kids. We hadn't considered therapy. I really thought, maybe naively, that we had a strong, though sometimes stressed, marriage. Her apology, with all the tears and guilt, felt less sincere after she brought up the open marriage. It seemed less like she was truly sorry for cheating and more like she regretted getting caught, then quickly moving to what she wanted, to keep her affair partner while not losing our marriage and family stability. She described her feelings for David as unexpected and said she was really conflicted, thinking an open arrangement was the only way to avoid destroying our lives. The most repeated advice, and the one that felt like I could actually do something, was to talk to a lawyer. I set up an appointment 2 days after my first post. I found a solid family law attorney through a referral. That 1-hour meeting was probably the most clear-headed and empowering time I've had in months. The lawyer was straightforward, professional, and laid out what divorce, custody, and financial stuff looks like here. She told me, no matter what happens, to start keeping detailed records of everything, Sarah's actions, my involvement with the kids, financial stuff, and any talks about her affair or the open marriage idea. She explained that having all this on record could be really important for protecting my and the kids' interests if divorce ends up being the way forward. She also talked about how an open marriage agreement might affect a divorce. So, here's the deal. I was going over some legal stuff, and it hit me, this whole situation might get messier than I thought. But, turns out, any proof of past cheating or current sketchy behavior is still a big deal. After mulling over what everyone's been saying and replaying the whole train wreck of my marriage in my head, I made a tough call. The idea of an open marriage, especially one that kicked off because of Sarah's cheating and clearly favors her, is something I just can't wrap my head around. But I knew if I just went in guns blazing or flat out said no, things could get ugly fast. I was worried she might go all secretive on me or do something drastic that could hurt the kids before I was ready for it. So, I cooked up a plan, and even my lawyer said it was a reasonable move, though it's gonna be emotionally rough for a while. First off, I told Sarah I was open to considering her open marriage idea. I was super careful with my words, didn't say I agreed. Just said it's a crazy concept, and I'm still wrapping my head around the affair. I made it clear that if we're even going to think about this, it would take a ton of effort, some help from a pro, and total honesty from her side. Told her I'd need time to look into it, see if it's something I could even think about. Also, I threw in that she'd need to spill the beans about everything with David, the whole deal, what she expects. I also suggested we hit up couples therapy to sort this out, knowing full well I was just buying time. The main aim here isn't to salvage the marriage via this route but to give myself space to prevent her from getting stubborn or going underground with her actions while I start getting my ducks in a row. Next, on my lawyer's strong advice, I got a private investigator, a legit one. This was a big move and not something I decided on lightly, but I saw why it was needed. Their job is to keep tabs on Sarah, what she's up to, her meetups with David, how she's spending her time, especially when she's supposed to be with the kids, and if she's slacking on her mom duties or blowing our money. They kicked things off about 2 weeks ago. It's costing a pretty penny, but I see it as an investment to make sure things are squared up fairly for me and the kids. Also, I'm all about documenting everything now. Started a secure digital diary that's password protected and backed up. I jot down Sarah's comings and goings, what excuses she gives, how she's being with the kids, her moods, and any important chats we have, writing them down as close to what she said as I can remember. I include any texts or emails about her affair or plans with David. And I'm also tracking what I'm doing, especially anything related to the kids. Plus, I've changed up my schedule big time to be the main caregiver. This was a tricky one to pull off. Had some honest talks with my boss in HR about needing more consistent hours and less travel because of serious family stuff. Didn't spill the beans about the affair but made it clear I need to be the rock for my kids. They were surprisingly cool about it and gave me some leeway, so now I work my butt off when I'm at the office and then continue after the kids crash. I'm all over the morning routine with Lily and Tom, breakfast, getting them ready, the school run. I handle pickups, go to school meetings, doctor visits, cook dinner, help with homework, and get them to bed. This isn't just for leverage in a legal sense. The kids are my world, and they need me more than ever right now. Lastly, as my lawyer suggested, I've been digging into our finances. I gathered up all bank statements, investment records, bills, tax returns, and property deeds from the past 5 years. Had a chat with a financial advisor on my own to see where I stand and to plan for whatever might come my way. Opened a separate bank account for my salary going forward. I still chip in for household stuff from our joint account but keep a close eye on it for any funny business from Sarah. When I told Sarah I'd think about her open marriage proposal, she looked totally relieved, like a weight was off her shoulders. She really seems to think I'm down for this. So she's been super open about her thing with David, casually dropping stuff like, "Oh, David and I are checking out that new restaurant on Friday," or "David had a rough day at work." Hearing his name around the house hits like a ton of bricks every time, but I keep my poker face on. She hasn't really done any of the trust-building stuff I mentioned, though. Her idea of transparency is just giving me the lowdown on her plans with him, expecting me to nod along. The Pie has already sent over some updates. They're pros and keep things on the down low. Their first reports show Sarah and David are hanging out a lot, meeting up during the day when she's supposed to be out running errands. They have pics of them at restaurants, parks, and going in and out of what they think is David's place. More worrisome, twice last week, Sarah got a babysitter on short notice. Once for Tom's soccer practice pickup and once for a night she told me she was going out for something else. So here's the deal, I was supposed to be running an errand when I caught Sarah meeting up with David. Every little thing is being tracked super carefully now. Honestly, the only good thing in all this mess is that I'm spending more time with Lily and Tom. They're actually doing great with the routine and attention. Lily, who's pretty sharp, has noticed, saying stuff like, "Mommy goes out a lot now and you're always the one picking us up from school." Daddy, I like that. I've just been keeping my replies low-key and not bad-mouthing Sarah. But man, it's draining. It's like I'm a full-time single parent while also managing a crazy job and dealing with the emotional roller coaster of this whole double life situation. Sleep? Forget about it. At home, things are just weird. It's like we're just roommates with kids and a pass together. Sarah's all chipper these days, like now that her secret is out, she's free to get what she wants. We only talk about superficial stuff, like groceries or school notices. Nothing real about our marriage, past, or future, except for her occasional upbeat comments on how people make all sorts of arrangements work. My lawyer likes the direction we're heading and the quality of evidence we're stacking up. He says proving that I'm the main parent and showing Sarah's ongoing affair will really help my side if we end up in a contested divorce, especially for child custody and support issues. How long I can keep up this act, I don't know. Every day feels like a performance. But for now, this is the plan: protect the kids, secure their future, and make sure that if our marriage ends, it reflects the true situation, not Sarah's dream of a carefree life at my expense. Thanks again for listening. It's going to be a long road, and I'll update when there's big news. Update 2, final update. It's been about 14 months since the first post, which feels like forever, and 13 months since the last update. The journey has been tough, but legally, it's over now, so I wanted to share the outcomes. The 3 months after my last update were the hardest. I kept pretending to consider Sarah's idea of an open marriage while living together. The private investigator kept gathering more evidence of Sarah's hangouts with David, which just got more intense. She was out late on weeknights and claimed all sorts of social events or freelance gigs, but it was always with David. We even caught weekend hangouts at his place and a wellness retreat that was actually a getaway with David. Meanwhile, I became the main parent for Lily and Tom, handling everything from school, meals, doctor visits, playdates, and emotional support. Sarah was more and more absent, often distracted or just gone. For instance, Lily had a big role in her school play, something we'd been excited about for ages, but 2 days before, Sarah claimed she had a work thing. It turned out she was with David. I logged her absence along with Lily's quiet disappointment. These moments piled up, not just as legal evidence but showing her growing distance from the family. Emotionally, it was brutal. I had to stay calm for the kids and act neutral with Sarah while inside I was dealing with constant updates from the pie and my own grief and anger. Sleep was rare and stress was always there. The decision to file for divorce came after about 5 months, with lots of evidence ready, showing adultery, her spending on David, and my full-time parenting against her lack of involvement. My lawyer was confident we'd win, not just for divorce but for primary custody and reducing her spousal support. We planned everything carefully. I got a new place in the kids' school district to keep things stable for them. On the day of filing, while Sarah was supposedly at a yoga workshop, which was actually more time with David, I moved the kids and essentials to the new house. Sarah got the divorce papers and temporary custody motion that evening when she came home to an almost empty house. Her reaction, which I heard through legal channels since I set up a strict no direct contact rule, was shock followed by anger and blaming me for betrayal. She actually thought I was warming up to her open marriage idea. Finding out my consideration was actually a strategy to gather evidence was a huge blow to her story. The divorce process was contested, but it wasn't super drawn out. So, it looks like things started tipping my way because we had a ton of solid evidence stacked up. At first, Sarah and her lawyer really put up a fight. She wanted to share custody of the kids, demanded a good chunk of spousal support, and was claiming her years at home with the kids should earn her a bigger slice of our stuff. Her lawyer even tried to throw out the private investigator's findings by saying they were a privacy invasion and painted me as just being out for revenge. We had quite a few showdowns in court. My lawyer laid out everything we had, the pies to the point reports and photos, my own notes, school attendance records, doctor visits, and receipts, all showing I was the one really there for the kids. We made it clear that Sarah was way more into hanging out with David than being there for Lily and Tom. Even though she didn't spend tons of money on him, the fact that she used our funds for her new guy helped our case. Some parts of the court sessions got pretty intense, especially when the lawyers were duking it out, but the facts were pretty hard to argue against. Sarah tried to explain away her time with David, but it didn't stick against all that evidence. Mediation didn't work either since she wouldn't budge from what she wanted. Finally, about 2 to 3 months ago, the judge handed down a detailed decision. I got sole legal custody and most of the time with Lily and Tom. The judge said all the proof showed I was the main stable parent, especially next to Sarah's choices to put herself first over the kids. Sarah got a step-up visitation schedule, starting with alternate weekends and one midweek visit that had to be supervised for 3 months, on her dime, because there were concerns about her recent absence from parenting. After she played by the rules for those visits, the supervision requirement was dropped, but we still avoid direct contact. As for spousal support, Sarah originally wanted 40% of my income for 10 years. Her lawyer claimed it was fair because she took time off work for the kids. My lawyer countered that she had skills, and at her age, getting back into work wasn't impossible. Plus, her choices hurt her case. Instead, the judge gave her some support for just 18 months at about 15% of what she asked for, pointing out her roles and actions in why the marriage ended played a big part in that decision. When it came to dividing what we had, the judge mostly followed the rules but gave me a bit more to offset what Sarah spent on trips and gifts for David, which wasn't huge but still mattered. We had to sell the house and split the money. I used my share to buy a new place and get set up financially for me and the kids. From what I hear through our co-parenting app and mutual friends, Sarah and David moved into a smaller place after the divorce when she had to leave the house we sold, and they're feeling the pinch financially. Her support payments are small, and David's salary, plus whatever freelance gigs she picks up, isn't really enough to live like before. Their relationship seems to be hitting the usual bumps of reality and money issues. On my end, I worked out some changes with my job so I could spend more time with the kids, even though it meant a bit of a pay cut and maybe slower career progress. But seeing Lily and Tom doing great at school and in life makes that decision a no-brainer for me. They've handled the divorce like champs. Our connection has only gotten stronger. I owe a lot to the community here for all the support. This is probably my last update. I'm all about looking forward now, raising my kids, and building a new life with them.